Sorry. Okay, so 6 o'clock, we'll start the meeting. Are we all set, right? Okay. Okay, audience and citizens, we have Mr. Mahoney here via Zoom, and welcome, Jim.
Thank you, Donna. How's everybody?
All doing, looks like we're all doing pretty well.
Sounds good, very punctual. I'm impressed.
So happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So thanks for coming, and why don't you go ahead? I know we had the packet. I don't know if people got the chance to go through it, but if I don't, Jim, if that's your intent to go through that document?
Well, I mean, let me give you a brief overview and then we can decide how much we want to get into detail, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So just to take a step back, the town's plan of conservation and development is, general vision for the town in various quarters, including, primarily land use and zoning, but also other, public facilities, including parks and, infrastructure, et cetera. So it's required by state statute to be done every 10 years. Ours, the current plan, it was done in, it was approved in September of 2013. So we're going to get this one approved by September of 2023. And the last time we did the plan, we had kind of an advisory committee that had some participation from some of the other boards and commissions. This time the Planning and Zoning Commission, which is the responsible commission by statute, decided that a lot of the members were interested. So they have an kind of a subcommittee that's been guiding through the process. But we wanted to reach out to other commissions to make sure we talk to you and get your ideas. And the other thing, just in general, is that after the previous plans of conservation and development, eventually there was created an implementation committee that had representatives, a chairman or other members of other key commissions that are involved in implementation of the recommendations of the plan. So Parks and Rec was one of those commissions, and I'm hoping that the council will again create an implementation committee. That's a recommendation. That is a recommendation of the plan, and have it similarly, formed as previous committees with representation from Parks and Rec. And it was a group that met maybe quarterly, and just you'll look at the recommendations of the plan and kind of go over how we doing on implementation. And the big thing, of course, with all plans is we talk about plans that go on the shelf. So what our intent is to make recommendations that there's a consensus around, and then to set up a process to try to implement those recommendations over time. It's a 10-year vision, so it's not that all of these things are going to be dealt with tomorrow or the next day or next year, but kind of puts on the table our, the town's vision for these areas over the next 10 years, and we can work on it and chip away on it and hopefully make progress over time. And also, in this plan, we're trying to prioritize the recommendations. So, we can identify the ones that are higher priority for each group, and then hopefully having an opportunity, this is kind of another opportunity for you as the commission to get, your ideas and priorities onto the table. I mean, certainly, you're involved in the capital improvement plan process every year. So, and that's kind of self-limiting in terms of the kind of the budget that the town is likely to spend on capital. And this kind of gives an opportunity to, create a broader vision and a longer term vision for things you'd like to get done. So that's kind of the big picture. And, we did that draft goal strategies and actions. I think the key thing is, if there are recommendations in there that you don't like, let us know. The harder thing is, really identifying things that maybe you'd like to see that aren't there yet. And if you can identify those, then hopefully we can incorporate this into the final version. And, again, we're talking about it tonight. You don't have to, provide your final feedback tonight. It'd be nice if you can think about it and as a commission, and then whatever feedback you have, then if you could give it to us, say your February meeting, then we can incorporate it into the first draft, because hopefully in February, like by late February, we can complete a first draft plan. And then everybody's gonna have an opportunity to review and comment on the whole plan. And so this is not your last bite at the apple, but I'd rather get everybody's ideas into the original, into the first draft, and go from there. So that's my kind of big picture overview, and be happy to go through some of the items that I thought you'd be interested in, or you can raise things, that you want to talk about, however you want to do it.
Well, let me start off. Let me just a couple of things as I read through it. The Arts and Culture Commission, what is that? We have a new commission in town?
And not a commission, but so the state set up a process for, has some funding for arts and cultural activities. And I guess Chris Edge was appointed as the arts and cultural coordinator. So this is, of very recent vintage. And, they have, I think it was minor funding, to support the effort, but maybe it'll lead to things in the future. So that's what I would say about that. And that makes me think, though, that the other thing I was going to say to you is that I know for some state grant applications, they ask you the question, is this in your plan of conservation and development? So if you have projects that you think might be applying for state grants in the future, let's get them in there, and then we can answer that question. Yes, can maybe get some points. So sorry for the divergence, but that's arts and cultural.
Okay. Well, I think generally what we've focused a lot of time on in this last year is maintenance of what we have and being able to keep up with the maintenance. And the one thing that I did like on page 2, which you've highlighted, for the conservation properties, including hiring more public ground staff, which is
Right.
absolutely needed as things happen. We just can't, and even us, Parks and Rec, we would love
Right.
to be able to do a lot, but we also know we're limited in staff. And so we always have that discussion. So the question I have on that bullet and the other bullets are talking about conservation properties. Where's Park and Rec properties? I know conservation, there's a discussion whether the parks are conservation or whatever, but can we add parks and recreation? I see parks noted, but I don't know if conservation properties is supposed to be all encompassing.
Yeah,
Page
there's.
11.
Sorry.
It's on page 11.
Yeah, anything that was park and rec
Yeah,
related,
so, okay.
Jim
I'm
highlighted.
sorry, I remember seeing the master plan. Okay, so we're supposed to develop a master plan then?
It was it was an idea, again, came out of the consultant.
I
So
think it's
if you
great
think,
idea.
yeah, I think it's a good idea. And, that's why I'm talking about, like, we have the CIP items, we have the vision, but maybe the master plan helps you create a longer term vision so that, hopefully get more funding for things. But on the maintenance item, I can look at adding something either in your section or to the open space section, just to reference the parks properties, as well as, obviously all maintained by grounds, as well as other, school properties, et cetera. So, and, I think we put it under open space because we recognize that the town, has bought a lot of open space over the last 10, 20 years, right? And so you have a lot more assets and a lot more to maintain, but not a lot more staff. And we've done a little bit of buying equipment and things like that to make things more efficient, but there's only so far you can go with that.
Right, okay, so that's on page 11, that's the one box about preserve, enhance. That's where we kind of focus our attention to. And so, in other words, we could add support, increases in public ground staff.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know if, okay, duplicate, thank you. So maintenance has been a rather big discussion item because, you know, for instance, although the town does, and this, I said the town, the staff does try and keep up, they don't always get their budget to equal what they need for operating expenses. And then as well as capital, you know, and one can argue what, let's say a pool, we're talking about Hubbard Pool, I was at the council meeting, the last council meeting in December. And, you know, Hubbard needs some significant maintenance at some point. You know, and they're rather large. But the question comes up, how do we maintain that so that we don't have to do this large upgrade? You know, or if that's how we're supposed to do it, then we better have that $1 million set aside so that we can do it every 10 years, you know, that type of thing.
Right.
So it's both
Yeah, I
operating
mean,
and capital.
Right. And so, yeah, I've made a few notes, but if Jen can give me some specific language, I can pop it in there.
Okay.
You guys have like a master plan?
I mean, we have our 10-year capital plan, which really talks about what we want to do with our, you know, major projects.
And then we have our field document that I think has every field of what we would like to do to them,
Yep.
broken down by field, it's drainage, irrigation, upgrading of facilities, whatever it is, and I think.
So that's
We
what we
updated it a
have,
couple of years ago.
right?
What?
Yes, no, it did not, it was only playing fields,
It was only fields. We didn't
It
do
was only
playgrounds or
fields.
anything.
it was not
But
playing.
playground updates are in our capital plan.
So Jim, just curious, like when I think of a master plan, kind of like a vision. You start, what do you want to provide your residents from a Parks and Recs? And maybe we'll need some help with that. I think, you know, is it look at what you have and develop your capital plan, kind of go right at a capital plan? Or do you develop a vision and then figure out what capital you need to make it, what operating expenses, what staff you need to do it? So
Yeah,
the
I mean,
community and
I
senior
think-
center- Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's
Go ahead.
like, one question is like, if you think you can do it, you know, the staff can do it, or you need some outside consulting help. And if you need outside consulting help, then, you know, kind of getting a budget allocation to, you know, secure those resources to help you. And I think, you know, again, as you said, it's maintenance and then a vision for, you know, additional things you need. I know there's been, and you have in your plans, you know, additional playing fields and such, but there's ongoing discussions about, you know, playing fields. Do you need more, improving the existing playing fields, changing surfaces, you know, all that stuff. So, you know, that, I think that all would be wrapped into your plan if you did one.
Okay.
But getting funding for it. And that's one thing, you know, I was gonna say also is that, you know, and I was at economic development the other night, we're talking about some of these things and, you know, I think, this time, you know, we're obviously, you know, planning is always stretched out, they've been understaffed, you know, now they've fully staffed and that's good. A lot of big projects and everything. So I think in terms of like, for example, we had done like zoning amendment packages, you know, that were kind of concurrent with the plan of conservation and development adoption. And we're really not at that point this time. And I think, you know, the individual commissions, you know, we're going to have to kind of carry the ball on some of the implementation items if we want to jumpstart them, you know, or we can wait. You can wait until it's all approved, which will hopefully be in the summer, and then just start working on it after that. But it's going to be, you know, the interested commissions and staff, and you know, that's, you know, again, what's the difference between the plan on the shelf and the plan that gets implemented is, you know, all of us making it happen, you know, implementing those items, advocating for the things we need to get those things done.
Hey, Jim, I don't really understand how this, how how will this help us? In other words, you're making up this plan, right? And how does that help us at Parks and Rec with the things that we're working on? We have to list these things out and have these included into the plan. You guys then take a overall dollar amount and get it approved by the council, or, I mean, how does that help us? Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's not the capital improvement plan, so we're not putting dollars on projects and getting to that level of details, but it's just, it's a vision for the town for the next 10 years. It's, there's other visions like the capital improvement program. And as I said, I think, getting the Parks and Rec priorities as facilities into the plan so that, again, this is a plan that's adopted by P and Z, but also by the council. So hopefully they're buying, when they adopt it, they buy into, the recommendations. And as I said, in addition, for example, a lot of the state grants, they're asking, if you're asking for a project to, build a new field, they're going to say, is that in your plan of conservation and development? So it's helpful to have those projects in there if you can identify them.
so if staff gives us, presents a list of projects or things that they'd like to see done over the next 10 years, and we're all in agreement of it, we should then list it, get it to you and list that out specifically.
Yeah, the more specific, the better, sure.
We've been talking about recently, besides the East Berlin, the playgrounds, how that they're, out of date.
Right.
And the equipment is expensive. I mean, and that pretty much goes for all the playgrounds, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
Right,
So,
Right.
I mean, we should list all that, all the things that these guys, the staff knows about in detail, and put it together and put it in the plan, right?
Right. And, there's narrative for the plan, again, that we can build the details into the narrative, into this, goals, strategies, and actions. Obviously, this is going to be a summary, but, whatever we want to put in is, as much specifics without, we're not going to write, the 100-page master plan and drop it into the POCD, but we'll, get it into a paragraph or whatever, or a couple of sentences, the key points. So, that they're in there. Yeah, I would recommend that.
Okay.
hey, Jim, is there a boilerplate that the town uses for each department's master plan?
Not really.
Oh, okay, all right, so like one thing bigger than the parks or the playgrounds and things that has been studied is the community and senior center.
Right.
Like when I think of, again, a master plan, I think, what's our vision for the next 10 years? What do
Right.
people want? What do we see happening? And then, so you have those, I'll say visions going down one
Right.
column. And then what do you need to get to provide, or what's your projects that are gonna let you achieve that vision, let's say in the next 10 years? And what do you need? Resources, staff, blah, blah, blah. So that's a master plan. And then it kind of supports what you have in here. And we include everything that the staff is working towards, but it's kind of beyond that, right? I mean, we do have the community and senior center, at least at some point we had it in a capital budget. We know where that's gone at this point. But the things that the benefits of that is something that the community might look for in the next 10 years. And, to me, that's a big piece that we'd want to put into this plan. Whether it's
Right. And
done by the Y or done internally.
Right.
So,
yeah, there is a recommendation, as an action in the plan about the community center, but, it's pretty general at this point because of where we are in the process. But, we can entertain, making that more specific as a recommendation and then see where it goes in terms of approvals at the council level, right?
Yep.
So if you want to, suggest sharpening that up,
okay.
we can work
Do you
with you
know-
on that.
Do you know what page that's on? I don't remember seeing that.
Not off the top of my head, but I know,
Yeah, I don't
it
remember
being in
seeing that in there.
I read through it, I don't remember seeing it, but of course I didn't remember the master plan.
I believe it's in there, you know.
Yeah,
Sometimes we talk about things and they're not there, but yeah, I think it's
I've
there.
read it a
I'll
few
find it.
times and don't remember seeing it. So we'll look, and if it's not in there,
And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
every time we go, let's say we go to the council we should reference back to whatever this plan that's adopted, you know, in the summertime or whatever, September. We should always reference this plan and say it achieves this goal or this action.
Yes. And then the other thing is, you know, with like, if you're gonna do a new field or something like that, generally, I would think it's gonna go through the 824 process. So it's gonna go to planning and zoning for a review and a recommendation to the council. So, you know, when you go to planning and zoning and it's in the plan of conservation development, well, that's pretty self-evident then.
Yeah, okay.
So Jim, how about what we have to do to maintain the fields?
Yes.
Such as Scalise. You know, that field was expensive and we're not putting any money away for it on an annual basis.
Mhm.
I mean, I would think that should be in there because we're gonna wake up one day with another multi-million-dollar cost that could be pushed off again. I know, I was told that the director of finance wanted to put $100,000 in the annual budget and it was refused
Mhm.
every year. So we would have at least something there to pay for let's say it, the new turf at Scalise if it's so needed.
Right. Yeah, I mean, again, you can make it part of your budget, you know, CIP and budget requests. And, you know, for example, I know like the plan of conservation and development is an example where it has been funded, like they put in, say, $20,000 a year or whatever, you know, and then so that you have the money there. And I think they might do the same thing with the reval, with the assessment. So there's precedent for that type of thing. And, you know, you could present, you know, continue to present your budgets that way and hopefully,
but
maybe
in this
secure
document,
that.
you don't want financials. This is more of a
You know,
narrative.
I think, yeah, right.
So maybe just a
Yeah, I mean,
comment,
general,
again,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
the maintenance.
About
We were the
saying-
ones that
You could
went
say,
to
yeah.
finance and asked them at a town council meeting. You need to figure out a way to put $100,000 away every year, so you have $1 million at the end of 10 years to maintain the field or
Right.
replace the
Replace
field
it,
or whatever, so. But yeah, so we need to put some kind of comment in there about identifying a process so that the monies are there when needed to maintain these assets that we have.
Yeah, or at least say, consider, you know,
Yeah, I
doing
know,
that. And
that's where
right.
this thing is all soft. You say consider and it never gets considered, so,
I know, but you got to start somewhere.
yeah, I know.
And if yeah, I'll look through, and if the community center there's no item, I'll add that. And the other thing I would say is just, I don't know if Jen had shared it with you, but we worked with Jenna and Woody on mapping for the parks. So we did a parks map, which I think was better than the ones we've had before. And certainly better than the one in the last plan of conservation and development. So if you take a look at that and you have any other adjustments, let me know and we can get that updated.
Jim, if you have that finalized, Steve and I never got the finalized version of that. So if you can send that over,
Really?
that'd be great.
Okay.
We gave our
Sure.
input and then never saw it again.
Okay, well, yeah, I have it finalized to the point where we have finalized, so. And we're, you know, kind of for the mapping with POCD, obviously, we started it early but, you know, we're not gonna finish the POCD, you know, now and again, until this summer. So you don't wanna we don't wanna create 50 versions of the map, you know, 50 revisions along the way. So we'll do one final revision on some of these maps, but I'll certainly send you over that Parks map.
Is that parks and trails as well, and athletic facilities as well, or?
We have parks as parks and we have trails as trails. So we have both.
And athletic facilities are not included in that mapping yet?
In the athletic facilities are in the parks mapping.
No, in the update that you've just talked about. That you just went through,
Yeah, and the map,
Map.
yeah,
It's all-
it's all there.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
there for amenities and everything.
I'm sorry?
It's there with all the amenities and everything each facility has.
I think that's what we tried to do. So again, if we missed anything, let us know, but I'll send it over to Jen.
That's great.
Our GIS guy, our GIS project manager at New England Geo has left, so we're in transition there, but we could tweak things certainly before the end of the process. But I think we were pretty close at the last version, so.
Great. Any other thoughts or? No? Okay,
Now we can
so-
circle back,
so
and
you
then
want
if you,
something
if
back
if you
from
want me
us
to come next month,
Sorry, you want
you
something
want me to
back
come
from
next month,
us
I
after
will,
our
otherwise,
February meeting?
yeah. That'd be great, yeah.
Well,
What was
Might take a
just
little
decided?
while,
I have no idea what
right?
just happened.
so. All right, we'll talk
We're
with
gonna,
Jen
we're gonna
and,
work on creating a mini master plan.
yeah,
Paragraph added.
Yeah, I mean, your master plan, like you said, is gonna be done over the course of 10 years. This is just something to put in here that
Right.
lists, the projects we're looking to do.
okay,
Okay.
all right, thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You
Thank
too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We shouldn't deviate from what we've already been putting
Oh,
together.
just like-
It should be a cut and paste, because otherwise, we're all over the map. I mean, I don't want to get into it with him on the line, but to me, this is all over the map.
Yeah, and he's not looking to have a page that is identical to what our 10-year capital plan is.
No, I
They're not,
understand that,
that's two
but,
different
right,
documents.
but to Donna's point about boilerplate and merging things, it's very confusing to me to have this, that, and this. I
Agreed.
mean, shouldn't it all blend together if it's a master plan? So, my opinion, if you're going to create the paragraph, it should be whatever we've already outlined as our priorities.
Right.
But that, I mean, he's got something on page 11 that outlines some of the things that we've been talking about, but I think it just needs to be added more.
And I don't think he's also aware of the amount of money that we've put into our facilities over the last 3 years or 4 years. I mean, this committee itself has gotten more capital improvement projects completed than pretty much any other town organization has done. I mean, we have Cividelli, Sage One, Scalise, now Viscaglio. I mean, there has been a plethora of stuff that has been done in the millions of dollars of upgrades. And I think there's a lot of people who don't realize that it's lost. So, I mean, sooner or later, it's gonna run dry of them, giving us the park and rec. And like he said, we're gonna have to go out for grants, and now we're going into the playground aspect of things.
So maybe what we do, to your point, Tony, right, we need to create something. We should start with whatever you already have, send it to us so we can massage it, add comments, kind of like we did with what you did with the dog park piece, and then we can add to it and then go from there.
I was gonna ask him, Steve, do you know if there are grants for playgrounds?
There is, and I think most grants, Jim Mahoney and I talk quite frequently, it's usually like a 20% grant. Like we have to put 20% forward and then they'll match the grant up to 80%. We've been trying to do a lot of things for exercise along Crystal Creek, along the trails, where you see a lot of them you have where you're walking and they have like a pull up or they have a sit up or that kind of stuff. That's kind of what we more have been aiming the grants towards. It's not, grants are tough to get for certain aspects of playground, but it seems for the exercise and the mobility stuff, you seem to get a little more traction on those.
But there's nothing in there that I read from community center.
No, I definitely didn't see that.
But again, it goes, what do you want to provide?
Right.
I mean, we're gonna have to do something like that, but
Absolutely.
all right. In the meantime, if people have thoughts though, maybe, just communicate
Sure.
to Jen directly. I mean, copy Steve and Deb and, I'll do the same and then, but we just gotta all work together and bang it out. Okay,
On Jim, like Jim said on his behalf, is the Conservation Commission has supported us unbelievably. They bought us a mower for the front of our Bobcat, which clears all the trails. They bought us a UTV to get into all the trails. We were out there today, and I'll include it in next month's report, is we drive every trail, which is, almost 1,000 acres of just open space and open land of cutting trees, and the guys cut down 13 trees today that were across the paths. So if it wasn't for that piece of equipment, that's somebody hoofing it through the woods, and now we have the ability to go out there, and I think they did it in probably around 4.5 hours of cutting up 13 trees. So now all the walking trails and all the hiking trails, and I think we use them quite frequently, Tony, now they're up and running.
Did you get the other one? There was a second tree.
And they got 13, with 13 they got, I don't know.
You're not bringing a chainsaw with you when you're taking it?
So,
Steve, when you say, so how did they provide the equipment? Like,
so they have an in lieu of open space. When a neighborhood is built, and there's a parcel of property that's supposed to be left unkept, unbuilt, and somebody builds on it, they pay the town to be able to build on that property. And that money goes into an account called in lieu of open space. So then when we see something that we possibly could use to benefit the Parks and Grounds Department, we reach out and work with Maureen and Jim, and they'll go to Di Lorenzo and go to the conservation.
okay,
They're
so
like,
it was
yes,
that
we are
property.
in favor of a Bradco. The Bradco is a 8-foot mower that goes in and it'll take up to a 3-inch tree completely down.
Yeah.
So later in my report, you'll see that we have Reservoir Road. If you're going down Reservoir Road right before the Southington line, we just blazed the brand new trail in there. So instead of putting guys out there, it takes a couple of hours. We take this machine and it just eats everything. But we'll get that way. So they're very
So it's
supportive.
funded, the equipment's funded through this.
Yep.
Fund or whatever. So just to ask, and so Timberland, golf course and all that, they have a lot of the same needs, right? Do they get to use this equipment too? Is that,
Yeah, Timberland can use anything we have.
Okay,
It's kind of, I think it's called what, in lieu of, so if like we go out there, perform any duties for them, we have to keep track of what machine went out there, how long the machine went out there, how long of our
to the
guy
golf
was.
course?
Yeah, because at the end of the year, it comes back in kind.
Gotcha, okay.
So,
And then for the park, Timberland Park, though, you can use that equipment, obviously.
well, it's our park.
Right,
So like
Right.
the golf course is the golf course, and then pretty much anything outside, like all the walking trails along the back line and the front
Right,
line,
right,
those are all,
maintained.
those are all maintained by the town, the Parks and Grounds.
I only asked that because I was at a commission meeting and they started talking about how, oh, they don't share equipment, they being public grounds doesn't share equipment, blah, all that kind of stuff. I just wanted to understand, because I know it's the same equipment. I'm just saying, you might have heard
No,
John's
no,
same comment.
Those comments are made, but then.
Push
conversely,
come to shove,
yeah.
right,
And this would be the first I've heard of it in 22 years.
yeah.
If our equipment breaks, they lend us ours, a piece of theirs break, we lend their
Yeah,
ours.
no, that's right.
It's a very harmonious
That's what I
relationship,
was-
so we'll take it back on that one.
Okay,
So just to be fair, Jerry Sal, he has commented, it off on the side, he's commented that it works both ways. If the equipment is available,
He
it's not
has.
being used.
Right.
Then, and we, Timberland needs it, it's made available. and They try to reciprocate.
he's pushed back. This was coming from commission members saying.
Not me.
Not Joe, not Joe.
Thanks, Joe. I saw your sister in Stop and Shop, so.
Well, I mean, very candidly, to me, it's like, it's all the town of Berlin,
Sure.
right? So, as long as the equipment is available, you're not using it for something else.
Right.
Okay. All right, anyone, audience, citizens? Kind of bypass, all right, thanks. Approval. I have a
I'll
motion,
make a motion, we approve last meeting's minutes, December.
okay? Anyone that wasn't there?
No, you guys are all here.
Andrew is the other one.
Right, it was. Okay, it's been seconded, all approved? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Nothing on consent agenda?
Nope.
Okay, Parks and Rec, Deb?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone has any questions on what I have submitted. I have some, first I did want to just let everyone know Steve Kelly passed away before Christmas.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, I meant to say it before we started recording,
Oh,
but
thank you.
so I don't, forget. Yeah, I guess he was in a convalescent home for a while, and his wife had passed away in the summer, so,
Oh,
yeah. There was nothing in the paper, they just had a daughter, and she didn't, as far as I know, never put anything in, there weren't any kind of things, but she passed away, yeah.
thank you for letting us know.
Yep. So my update on my summer staff that I've heard from, out of my 5 supervisors, this was always a big concern and question. 2 are definitely not returning. 2 are returning. 1 of them is not able to work weekends. He has another job. And I still have not heard from 1 other. So I will probably start advertising next week to try to get some people in, really stressing to get some older, because that's what our biggest need is going to be. And then most of the other staff have indicated they are returning, so that number is good, but it's just, again, the supervisors. That's the
That's
concern.
what your fear was,
Yeah,
right? So,
so that 1 person is really kind of I mean, even with 3, it would be tough to staff. To honestly, just if we had the 3 to staff 2 pools with those 3 splitting the time. With time off, with them teaching swim lessons, swim team, that takes a lot of the regular hours away that they can normally work at the pool. So, I mean, I'll keep you posted up at the February meeting to see if anything has changed. Again, I'll start advertising and see if we get any interest, but that's where we are with that right now. That's, yeah.
Okay.
And then camp staff, I just have 1 not returning, everyone else, 1 I haven't heard from, and then everyone else is planning on it. So again, I'm gonna try to push to see if we can get a director and assistant director to reopen the community center site. Hopefully that works. If not, we'll keep the numbers that we had at Thistle Creek last year, which seemed to work pretty well. So. And then I'll advertise probably next week, I think, once we get, since it's already Friday, gonna be Friday. I'll get that out. We'll put it on Facebook, which is what we normally do.
just curious on the staff not coming back.
Yeah.
Do you ask them why not? Is it-
Both are internships.
So they've got internships for
Yeah.
their future, so that it's not a matter of we're not providing enough funding.
Oh, no, believe me, they would. One of them was my nephew, so I know he's gonna be in
Okay.
Boston.
Just
so,
they're at the
yeah.
age in college where
Yeah, they're
working
at,
towards their careers.
and
Yeah, sure.
actually, the one we haven't heard from, he was the one last summer that said he wasn't sure because he was gonna be looking into internships, so it doesn't surprise me. I sent a follow-up email to a bunch of people, like, I have heard from you to try to get a response by tonight, and I haven't, so he could be in limbo right now, hasn't heard back.
Yeah, this is about the time that,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's not, I mean, I'm sure they would come back. The 1 person I lost for camp was because she moved out of state, so, and that's just, they grow up and they move away, and
yeah,
sad for me, but it happens. So, just, again, I'll just advertise and hope we get some good people and hopefully get that other camp back and running again. It'd be nice.
any questions? No?
Just one,
Yeah.
on your schedule for practices for January, February,
Or, Yeah.
any challenges that you're having with any of the schedules for the kids for playing basketball? Just curious, because you made that comment in there, and I just wanted to ask it.
not
Getting pushback
necessarily,
from the
but it's
schools.
just,
This is what-
well, we do get, like, I just had a cancellation. I do get late cancellations. It's more that it's very time consuming to put those together. So
Right.
it's not something that can be done in like an hour. Like, I literally go through and I have to take each coach, what their preference of night is. It's available.
Right.
I try to make sure that all the 3rd and 4th grade don't have 7 and 8 time slots, that they have a variety, because people complain, oh, my 3rd grader it's very late for them to be out. So it's more just to let you know that I'm working on that. but
Okay,
it's-
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no, the schools are pretty, I mean, I pretty much book all the schools to be able to work into our schedule, but we have gotten a few last minute cancellations that we tried to move where they have activities, they forgot to notify me. So then I've already sent schedules out, so now I've got to update things.
Okay.
And then everything's a process. If they have to have the baskets adjusted, I've got to notify the Board of Ed, so they can notify the schools. I mean, it should be a simple process, but it takes a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, and fortunately, I have Ally now who can help me she puts all the schedules in, so then I can just take them out and just verify everything in email to the coaches, so that has helped a lot too.
Thank
But yeah, it's a long process.
One thing I want to know, Ally, I see calls into these meetings,
Yes.
which is really nice.
Yep.
If you haven't met her, she works for Debbie, and so we appreciate it, Ally, thanks for listening in.
And Jen. She works for Jen too.
She works for Debbie and
And,
Steve.
right. Sorry.
I have the largest percentage.
Yeah.
I don't have a budget.
I'm lucky-
I
I'm lucky
can't
if
pay
I get
her.
5. Jen took my 25%.
I don't have a budget. I can't pay her.
Okay,
That was perfect timing.
You're up.
Shouldn't say that.
all right, so
You're up.
February, because when I presented to the council, I said we would let them know February timeframe after our meeting, how we're doing on staffing, and that would kind of lay into a decision whether or not Hubbard's gonna be open, not talking about the
Right.
fixing or anything,
Yeah.
open.
Yeah, well, that's why I wanted to give you that update
Yeah.
now. I tried to push to have a deadline to get responses by this meeting and then again, start advertising. See if we can get some. Every town struggles with it. I mean, New Britain struggles with it, all the towns around us, not as much, I don't think, as Newington, because they have year-round programs, so they can kind of retain the staff, but I know New Britain is in the same boat, and they struggle to get people, especially the older people to be able to run it. So.
Yeah.
Is that something that it's over the last few years, or has that just been, this is the norm?
So I think part of it's COVID. I think COVID really screwed up the whole country because it's the whole country. It's not just us. We never really seemed to have a problem to get the staff, but that one summer for COVID, when I didn't hire anyone, that was a gap summer. So normally you hire some people every year, so then as they age, you always have people in that spot. Well, I have the gap, like I have the kids that are the 5 supervisors last year are now juniors in college, and I don't have anyone until seniors in high school.
Right.
That's a big gap. So without being able to hire, you don't get people that come in to be able to get them the experience. Like I'm hoping a couple of my seniors, I think that they're mature enough to be able to start training them and maybe put them in charge. 1 day or 2 days, but to do it all summer, they're just not ready for it. And that hurt a lot.
All right.
And I don't think kids, they don't seem to want to work as much as they used to. We don't get as many applications as we used to.
This may be a crazy idea or thought, but have we thought about looking at retirees?
Right.
Who may be interested in doing something?
They have to be certified. I mean, that's the whole
And well,
thing.
that's the whole thing.
We
It's all
would
about
hire anyone.
certification.
Yeah, it's the certification. Can they go through the training? That's a big part of it. I would hire anyone that comes in
Believe me,
that
I've seen
is
some seniors
certified.
that swim pretty damn good.
Well, the class is pretty difficult though,
Yeah.
with the backboarding and some of the prerequisites to be able to
Sure.
take the class. Pull the brick up from the bottom of the pool. I mean, I couldn't do it, yeah, no, I would,
Just asking.
we don't have an age limit. We would take anyone who is qualified and certified. I would
And
hire
maybe when
anyone.
you're putting that ad, you talk, all ages considered, senior
Well,
high school.
the job description says, is for those positions that, college age and above, so.
Yeah, including retirees or something,
Well, I mean, it's
Just
even like,
because you can.
Well,
that might
but the downside of it is we don't have anyone that can train people either, so it's not like we could say, oh, if you're interested, contact us and we'll get you through the class, because we don't have that ability to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have the trainer and we don't have the facility. When you have a year-round facility, a lot of these towns can train Or
You know,
the
we have a
So how do we
senior center.
train the ones that we have though? I mean, we send
They
them,
get no, they get certification, they
On their
come to be
own, they-
certified,
they do it on their own,
and we will retrain them.
but we won't
We do
pay for their
We-
initial.
I haven't had anyone to be able to do
I
that.
would ask for that.
But-
Well,
Why not?
I'm
My
hopefully,
daughters went through Red Cross and got certified.
Yeah, but my
Yeah.
younger son was a.
And they're not
lifeguard.
interested in doing that, yes?
My oldest one is same problem. She's gonna be a senior, so she wants to do an internship.
Yeah.
She worked at the school of swimming for 5, 6 years,
Oh.
and she quit.
Okay, yeah.
And then my younger one is gonna work there this summer.
Yeah, my younger son is a lifeguard. And I couldn't pass that certification test.
it's hard, which
I
it should be.
couldn't pass
I
it
mean,
when I was 25, never mind now.
Yeah,
Not a chance. It's even like, even like basketball referees and so forth. I mean, you know, I know that, to your point, you have high schoolers and they graduate, and then you try to find some, you know, even some that have done it for you in the past and may be looking for a Saturday morning or to make a few extra bucks. I mean, with the way the economy is right now,
Right.
so many young kids struggling, I'm not about young adults who
Yeah.
graduate in professional careers that are still struggling because they're only making so much per year. Can't even buy a dozen eggs for,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I just, you know, anything creative that you could think about in order to try to get people in, I'm sure you do, I'm just.
I mean,
throwing-
and, you know, like referees for basketball, we're only paying like $15,
I
we're paying minimum wage.
But
you
15
know?
bucks is 15 bucks.
I know, but you'd be surprised, I don't get a lot of
So
applications.
you
I can be a
I think I
waitress.
only had
I
like
can
5
waitress
applications
or-
this year.
You ref like 8 to 12, it's 4 hours. It's-
Yes.
Yeah.
not
It's a
much
little
money.
They should be a soccer ref, we can pay a lot.
You can
more
go
than
to a
that.
restaurant.
I know you're doing it, Deb, I just bringing this up only
Yeah, no,
because,
yeah,
because I went to see a couple of games and I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm just thinking, you know, some of these young adults that, you know,
Yeah.
struggling.
Referees has another problem
Or-
too, is because everybody's, nobody wants to get yelled at.
but I have to say, I feel that our kids' basketball program, those coaches have
No,
pounded
they-
down
No, they have,
tremendously.
they have.
And I keep
Yeah,
trying to
well,
say to them, just imagine that's your son or daughter refereeing, do you want people, and they've been much.
No, I've gone and watched this.
When I've gone, you know, when I first took it over and you know, I wanted to have police in the gym because it was so bad.
oh, yeah,
The atmosphere is not like that anymore.
that's good.
You know,
that's
it's a
good.
lot better. Not that they don't get animated and they don't yell but like it's way better than it used to be, I think. But I don't know. I'm not sure why the interest isn't there.
It's a number.
Yeah, I have a couple older staff that ref,
I
especially at
actually,
McGee,
I
but
actually went last weekend to Weathersfield because my great nephew played in Parker Rec. They just do running clock. They run the clock the whole time. They-
Oh, really?
yeah,
Because,
we only stopped the last 2 minutes of the
yeah,
half.
no, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
they just running clock. They don't, it's really odd the way it is programmed versus the way we have ours. Ours is much more structured, in my opinion, based on what I've seen. But it was just interesting to see the difference. And then you know, our program versus theirs. And not that theirs was bad.
Right,
It's just the way it was run. Coaches, don't even say a word. I mean, it's like not one word. Not one word.
Not
Yeah.
coaching.
Not coaching at all.
oh, see, ours, coach.
I know, I know.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what
which
I'm
is good,
saying.
yeah, yeah.
They're teaching.
Yeah.
Which is what you're supposed
And we have a lot of female coaches for our girls program, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah,
so,
I saw that too.
Yeah, nice.
That's good. Anyways,
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah.
Just those ideas.
Yeah, no, believe me, I wish it was easier to try to get people and, you know, I think especially with guarding, once they get to a certain age, they just don't keep their certification up. So
Yeah,
that's
no,
the
that
hard
makes
part.
sense. Especially if they're doing what you're talking about, internships and stuff.
And once you lapse, Red Cross doesn't let you just research, you have to do all over again.
Right.
So it's like a 35-hour course I can take.
Thank you.
So, yep.
All right, any other questions, Debbie? All right. Steve,
Mr. Word.
Steve?
It's not often that I'll be faster than Debbie, so
Wow.
here we go.
So sure about that.
I got this one this week.
I got a lot of questions.
I'm ready. We cleaned up some branches after the storm. We blocked out, I'm sure you guys all read, we bought the parcel up at Pistol Creek, the 16 acres. on the left side as you're looking at the clubhouse. We bought to the left. So we had to repurpose some of the Jersey barriers that were in the parking lot because there've been a lot of cars and a lot of ATVs going up and doing some damage. So we blocked off as you're going by what we consider Stowe Hill and then the entrances. So there's not a lot of ways for cars to get in, and we'll keep continuing trying to find ways to prevent from anybody getting there and doing any more damage before we try to get in there and maybe roll it, try to get some grass to grow, or try to do something a little different. But like I mentioned earlier, we blazed the trail, probably a quarter mile, half a mile for conservation. So I mean, now you can walk, I believe, from Reservoir Road all the way into the back of into Timberland Golf Course. So that's where the path goes. It goes up a ridge, you walk around the ridge, then you can walk down. So that came out pretty nice. After Berlin had a terrific football season, the parking lot in front, or the soccer field, aka lacrosse field, was in pretty bad shape. We went out there, probably put 600-700 pounds of grass seed out there, rolled it. So hopefully with any luck, we can get the people from stop driving in there and doing hole shots. But maybe with a warm spring, we'll get that to germinate. So that will be looking okay.
So positive.
It's my
It was
off season.
bad.
We all can smile.
It was
It was bad.
It was awful.
But we'll work on that. We've had a lot of grounds changes over the last 6 weeks. Greg Playa took a promotion and went out to the golf course to be their mechanic, which left us an opening. We advertised pretty much everywhere except for this one. We did not advertise in Indeed, and we ended up with 8 applicants. We used to end up with 52 of them. We had 8. We were lucky enough to bring a guy named Dean on board. He's 19 years old. He's eager to learn, has a lot of potential, seems to really fit in with the guys and is gravitating to learning everything we're throwing at him. So far, he's been fantastic. Paul Kristopik, who had worked with us for 42 years, had decided that it was time for him to retire and move on. And unfortunately, he left us, and we already miss him. And, he's been gone for about 2 weeks. We're in the process of filling his position. We did go out to Indeed on this one. We got about 60 applicants within 3 days. We narrowed that down to 8, and with any luck, we'll do some interviewing next week. Next, in 61, which is the Board of Education, we put in $175,000 to replace the playground at Willard. So far, that is moving forward. We're having our first kickoff meeting with Willard School on Wednesday to discuss where they want to go at. We reached out to 3 vendors, had them drop off some catalogs. We dispersed those to the committee, kind of for them really to understand the timeline we're looking at. We're going to start the conversation probably sometime in, we're going to start it next week. We'll probably make a decision of what kind of playground they're thinking over the next couple of months, but this playground will not be installed until 2024. So right now, we ordered the new swing for Percival baseball. We ordered that, we'll say 7 months ago. By the time it comes in, it'll be 43 weeks from the day we order.
Wow.
So I would imagine the lead time on a playground of the size that Willard is going to be somewhere around 9 months, 36 weeks. So that is our game plan for 2024, as long as the budget passes.
So, you're planning on taking down the entire Willard playground and replacing it,
Yes,
the whole thing?
the whole thing. But I would encourage them to leave the 2 brand new slides that have been installed in the last couple of years. But the swings in the back are too close to the wood line. The swings in the back lower right are pretty much archaic, which is the lady came to us last week and spoke of the community playground. The elements, I think there's like a,
So why that one has been chosen versus this one? Because
so
these
the,
newer or better.
that one has been in for the last 5 years and keeps getting thrown out. It is the only playground of the 3 elementary schools that has not been replaced in the last 5 years. We did Willard, Hubbard first, then we did Griswold, and now the only one that's left is Willard, sorry. So at that point, they'll all be done, and then that's totally different. So account 61 is the Board of Education,
Board of Ed,
where mine is
right.
45. So it's just 2 different pockets of financing, how it works.
And what's the total project cost?
For Hubbard, for Willard, we're looking at probably somewhere around $175,000.
I thought it was
I
a
don't,
lot more money.
that's the Friendship Place was
Friendship
$750,000.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about in the.
No,
If you're looking at the
Yeah.
school from the street, the left side of the
It's on the
playground.
left side as you face Willard. Yeah. Yeah.
Friendship Place is not,
Place.
Friendship Place is not affiliated with Willard School.
Right.
It just happens.
It's
just happens to be located.
unfortunate, it's on the school
Right.
grounds and that's why people
I
can't
got
use
Are you
it.
doing anything on the left-hand side?
That's what he's
That's the
talking about.
playground
Only
they're
the
talking
left-hand
about.
side.
It's the
Well, no,
left-hand
I thought you were talking about the swings behind it, right?
The swings, right, that's all encompassed into one playground.
Yeah, it goes
Alright,
around.
But the whole,
What's
but
there
the whole,
for a
pla-
playground?
so the whole playground though looks pretty cool because they resurfaced everything, right? Is that gonna be impacted?
We would never
Wait a minute,
touch them.
Willard School?
So,
As you're facing the school on the left
Yeah.
side by the kindergartens.
Yeah.
so all the drawings and the
That's what it's
paintings that are done on the asphalt.
Yeah.
Is not part of the playground.
Okay, that's fine.
The playground is actual play elements. There's some monkey bars, there's
Yep.
what do you call those, balance beams that have been there since I was there in
Yeah.
1984. So like that playground has not been touched in 40 years. So it's
So
time.
whose budget is this in?
It comes out of 61, it comes out of the Board of Education.
Board
It's
of
not
Ed's paying
under
for it.
Parks and Rec.
The Board of Ed doesn't pay for it, it comes out of 61, which is part of the town budget, but it's affiliated with the Board of Ed. It doesn't go into 2545, which is my budget. It's in a different
Right.
account.
Okay.
That's where Steve's staff, though, they provide services to everybody, really. It's public grounds, it's any grounds, and that's where he has to work with all different.
Correct.
Okay, I got you.
Yep. Anything that is on school grounds or affiliated with school grounds falls in 61. Garrity and Puccini, Hubbard, Willard, McGee, all,
So any field
high school,
improvements go
Soccer
under that
West.
too.
exactly.
Why do you guys get it and not facilities?
Facilities doesn't have a grounds.
It's
maintenance, correct?
grounds.
Facilities is
So
buildings.
playground would be ground.
Buildings, they would, they do buildings.
Anything outside of the foundation of a school belongs to grounds.
But Doug also has items in the 61 account.
So we'll see how this goes over the next couple of months, and hopefully the committee gets really involved, because I mean, there's a lot of tough choices to be made. So,
It will be interesting as we look at, future parks or what we want to do with our playgrounds.
Yep. I think that concludes my.
New soccer goal, singular at Sage, where?
Yes, so the goals at Willard are in extremely bad condition and they need to be replaced. And with them going more unified at the high school, we kind of need to find a set of goals to move over there. So we're gonna do a little bit of swapping back and forth to try to get one set of goals at the high school for the unified sports that they're moving into there. So we reached out to a new company. We went through Team Sports, and we bought a set of J Pro goals, and set of goals used to be $2,300. Set of goals delivered, all said and done by J Pro, $4,000. So new set of goals has been installed. They are up at Sage Auxiliary. Cool. And we're good to go for next year.
So I'll send you an email. I sent it to Ed. There's one of the guys buys goals for like 20, maybe 30% of that cost from a company over in England. And he's got a set in his backyard and they're pretty good. So anyway, and the other thing is we still need, we were supposed to buy another set of goals for personal. I haven't heard what's going on with it.
The goals at Personal are not even 4 years old.
Okay.
I don't know what you guys are, what Bro New Soccer has decided to buy, but with us having more groups use our fields.
Yep.
We can't count on what you guys.
Well, I
may or may not
understand.
do.
No, we never make a decision fast enough to make anything. But I'm following up on it for you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. I just texted our guy the other night after I gave him the information. I'll send you what that company is, though. They're supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah.
All the stuff in England.
I mean, me being a little skeptical, I would have to find a million ways to vet this company out prior to buying a set of soccer goals
That's fine.
from England, but that's just
That's fine.
my luck. My luck is to fall, crush somebody.
Yeah,
We would like to thank you. Great.
That's it.
Okay,
cool.
not sure, if this is,
Just for the
we're gonna
record,
go
would-
through the scoreboard just to give them an update.
That's State of Connecticut grant update.
Just for the record, it had nothing to do with Christopher Weeding. And not.
He says otherwise.
He definitely said
He says otherwise.
Or the sanding or any other, yes.
Too many complaints and orders from
I
Tony
think the homeless
Tramus.
picture you took of him walking down with the shopping cart was. Oh,
Okay, thank you, Steve.
So beginning of the year, it's time to send out the field user email so we can start getting application reservation requests in. Just wanted you guys to brief a copy of it. Any changes, if you think anything's out of line, just let me know. Otherwise, that's going out tomorrow to all field users, along with this 2023 important information, which shows the fee schedule changes, as well as a few field usage reminders, as well as the new, not new, but recently updated field reservation request form. Giving you guys a heads up that that's going out tomorrow, and if you saw anything alarming, let me know.
I didn't see anything alarming, but I know I brought it up at the last meeting. And is there going to be any consideration at all about when a field may not be in use and a team wishes to pay some kind of pro rate based off of the number of town
Right.
children that are playing?
So
I mean, is there?
what would happen is they would submit their request. I would see if the field was available. If the field was available, I would get back to the field user group and let them know that this is the cost to use the field. At that point, if they want to argue the cost or try to reduce the cost, it's not something I can decide because it is in the fee schedule for town council that we approved here first, then it went to town council. They would have to come to you guys similar to when Robin Kopp's group came and tried to get a cheaper rate at the time.
and
And
And I don't think
And
I'm
Wally.
asking so much for a cheaper rate. What I think I'm asking is if something isn't being used. Okay, if the field is not being used. And is there flexibility around the usage fee for teams that have a majority of the kids or children playing versus saying, no, it's gonna be X regardless. So we're basically I'm saying, we're giving up money potentially because the field is not being used when they're gonna go someplace else and pay someplace else and say it's $75 here, $50 over there, they're gonna go pay $50. Are we willing to take any type of differential? I'm just throwing it out.
So
from
for
the-
one, you're saying if the field isn't used for this one day that they want, it,
Mhm.
not for the season or whatever.
Yeah, whatever the
But
case.
right now, as I understand it, we have a fee schedule
Mhm.
and we've set that fee schedule whether it's for that one day or not. There's no flexibility.
not
That's
without
right.
commission and council approval.
Well, the person could come to us, of course, it's all timing because
yeah.
you don't know until the day before.
It's a 6-week
You know,
turnaround.
you could get someone to use that
Sure,
field, so it's the day
yeah.
before, and of course, we don't meet that frequently, so. But that's what would have to happen, they would have to somehow get in touch with us, we could have an emergency meeting, wanted to. And then we have to go to council,
I would go to council and saying that the commission
so it all has.
suggested
Yeah, I'm
this.
just-
Where it's
okay.
tough.
That was the only question that I had. Other than that, I was fine. I just wasn't sure if we were considering anything or not.
can I throw my 2 cents in on that?
Sure,
Is I get the concept and the idea, but my reservation hesitation is this, is if we look at any schedule that is handed to us from Berlin Youth Soccer, Berlin Lacrosse, Berlin Little League, Berlin Softball, and anything, every single field that we have is booked from sun up to sundown from these organizations. So when these fields are booked, there is no openings. Then what happens is, say, somebody decides that they're not gonna have practice one day. Well, as the ground standpoint is, okay, I just got 4 inches of rain on Monday. Now I possibly have the possibility of having an off day on a Wednesday. Why would I want to put a group out there for a less cost? The damage to that field is just as costly
I understand.
at $100, $75 an hour with the minimum. So that $150, giving them a break for $50, that $50 does not repair the damage to that field.
Totally get it.
So it's kind of like, we're kind of kicking ourselves where we were saying that, okay, we're gonna raise the fees to be able to incorporate more money and bring it into, put out a better product and make the field look better with buying more fertilizer, more grass seed, and a better overseeding and aeration program. But now we're gonna take somebody and lower their fee to $50. Well, the reason they want to come here for $50 is because they know by going to Newington, it's $200. Rocky Hill is $175. They're coming here for a cheaper rate and
I
the same
think-
amount of abuse to our field.
The situation that I brought up the last time was not that. The situation I brought up last time was the fact that they're going someplace else and paying a lower rate when these fields were available, okay, were available based on what I was been told. And the fact of the matter is that with the population of the individuals, okay, the majority of them are Berlin residents, right? Again, I'm just asking the question. It's been
Yeah, and if
decided-
fields were
It's been
available-
decided, it's been decided.
Yeah,
I just
when you're
asked-
talking fields
the
were
only thing
available when you
that's-
were asked, that must have been in the fall. Because the request I got was for spring, going into spring. They
Was
asked
spring.
what the availability was. I can't tell them what the availability is, because none of the
Right,
forms
right.
have come in. So right now, I can't say there's availability.
And I will throw Berlin Youth Soccer under the bus right now, is Soccer West. We lined every single week, from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. We moved the goals off the field for ultimate frisbee. Those goals were not put on the field, and that field was not used once this fall. And it was requested every day by Berlin Youth Soccer.
And you're bringing up a very good point, because I think that happens more than we even know.
And that's a
That
thorn in
happens
my
with
side
every-
and frost my
Right,
Cheerios.
and that happens.
Those issues, I think, should come to us.
We've-
We can-
We've been bringing them for years. There's a plethora of these situations that happen with
The leagues
sports
just,
Yeah, no,
of just
no, so
a
for that,
blanket.
that's.
And it is
I
addressed to the
apologize
users
if you brought
every
that to our
single
attention
year.
already, because I think we owe it to the organization and, to let them know, hey, guys, you never even used it and you reserved.
I think 3 or 4 years ago, we started bringing everybody in and asking
So
them
we
for
did
more
review that, like
transparency.
that one, I don't remember
Well,
that.
well,
And
Yeah.
Steve and I have addressed
You
that.
guys lined the field every week and they never came out. and
Not
used it.
once.
Berlin
I don't
Little
re-
League books every single baseball field from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock every weekday, and from 8 o'clock AM to 8 o'clock PM every single weekend from the spring season, from April
But they're
to
paying.
August.
no.
No,
No, it's
users do
free.
not pay.
And then if somebody
Oh.
wants to use that field,
No one can use
They
that
can't
field.
When I get a
No.
request for a baseball field, I go to
That's
Berlin
what I'm
Little
getting
League
at.
right? here's
and I
the-
say, hey, this person, Dave Swanson, for example, wants to use Beretta. Dave, I'll reach out to Berlin Little League. Dave sends me his request. I reach out to Berlin Little League. Dave Swanson would like to use it 2 days a week for this month to this month. Are you willing to give up the
Yeah.
field? 9 times out of 10, they say yes. Sometimes they say we can give him this day, but not this day. But I can't say yes to that group until I reach out to Little League,
Right,
because
right.
Little League's request
Yeah.
and they're first in the priority schedule, passport event in town. So it's
And we
hard.
have
but
Dave
then-
Swanson willing to pay full price for any time he can get on the
Yep.
field. And he's making the deal with Berlin Little League to be able to use the field that Berlin Little League requested in March.
Not to mention, he's lining the fields and getting everything ready.
No, I know that, right, so, but you
It's
have
on your
this
schedule, you're
process,
doing it 'cause it's on your schedule and.
Right.
they never show up.
I know,
And
I
then
know,
they
I
don't
know
show.
nothing else.
right,
It
so
happens a lot in the
that's,
heat.
Exactly.
and we,
And in the
so there's
spring, Little League's
somewhere
not
people
on
don't
vacation.
show, right? Like, we see that.
We talked about that at the, when everyone came.
Right.
We talked about it with those leagues and they all committed that they were going to, they were coming and they were gonna. use
And that's
it.
why.
And
Jen
it
I
has
are-
been addressed in this email every single year. It is addressed to our youth, I talked to all the presidents on one-on-one emails.
Yeah,
And it
no,
is
I know
addressed.
you've talked about it, I'm saying, so we've gotten a list, or we
Oh,
know.
us, no, but it was addressed.
No, I know we talk about it with them. I'm saying, now that you know this happened, let's say, for these dates, then we should bring that
What's your
President in.
suggestion for a solution?
and say, guys, this is what you did. The
Is it-
town lost this
Yeah,
money,
it's been going on
somehow make a
forever.
point of it.
Is there a
Soccer,
solution?
like, I don't,
Cool. All right.
yeah, right.
So I don't know if we're using that field or not. I can tell you that I don't know if they're using the field. John does all the field designs, but I
So,
don't tell.
but to that point, we don't have to,
Right, we don't, but I
I'm
don't know.
saying though,
But
that's
we,
where.
right, and that's where Don said, Don is, if we have a field that is open, that a 50-70 team wants to use, and the only field that they can use that's 50-70 is Sage 2
Yeah.
and McGee softball. Those are the only 2 fields we have in town, because you cannot play baseball at Hubbard School because of how close the vicinity of the building is in the windows with the balls flying. But he's right. If John Paul or Dante wants to use Sage McGee softball, he should have the ability to put in a request, pay the $75 an hour, and we should be able to encompass that money. But you haven't-
Unfortunately, just to remind everyone about McGee, McGee is primarily used as a soccer field in the spring. We cannot have anyone on the baseball field when soccer is playing. That is a risk. That is something we met with the risk manager. So if someone's driving by and there's a soccer game going on and the baseball field is open, we can't book that baseball field for a
Yeah,
group. I just want
because
to
of the
make
soccer.
sure, right.
But the question,
And Sage 2 is never available because that is a Berlin Youth Lacrosse, Berlin Youth Soccer shared field in the spring, and that's used every single day by them.
So what happens if Berlin Little League says, I want to reserve, I'm gonna reserve all the baseball,
that's what they do every year.
right? And so it's, Thursday afternoon, and they're not using the fields.
Nothing,
Nothing.
nothing.
No.
Because they don't pay fees.
Right,
And
so
unless someone
what
sees that they're not using it,
Right.
you don't know.
And see, that's why originally, correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, originally when you brought everyone together, and I think we did it twice, 2 years in a row.
3.
3 years,
did.
Yeah,
Right.
third year, we didn't have a good turnout.
Right.
but the whole purpose of you doing it was to talk through some of these things.
Yes.
And everybody had committed at that time
Right.
that they were not going to just pencil in every day.
Right.
And they were going to have flexibilities for the town to make some cash if needed.
And 2 months later, when we got field reservations, they were all booked sun up to sundown.
So I don't
But
know,
where they're not used, like, maybe, after the fact, we have to kind of understand. Berlin Little League didn't use these fields, and we wasted all those, resources to set up those fields. And guys, this is money,
exactly.
and we lost money because we could have rented, maybe,
But-
whatever.
It goes back
We
to the
need
thing
to
you
go
said in the
back
beginning
to
of the
them.
meeting to Jim
If this-
Mahoney is maintenance. Why is it, we wish we had a better grasp on maintenance. Well, if we have 2 guys maintaining 5 or 6 fields that aren't played on a day, and I'm exaggerating,
Right,
that's 6 more hours that could have been somewhere else that could have used it.
so that's what so maybe, by us saying now we didn't need a meeting and all that. I would like to see some type of spreadsheet that just says, here it is, in your face. This is what you didn't use that we know of. I mean, there's probably other things. If it's, quite frankly, I didn't understand this was gonna be or has been a big issue. I know we've talked about it to them. I thought it was pretty well handled,
We've even.
but like that one example that you brought of soccer, that's crazy.
Right. And
Jen-
that's in a specific one to know that he was able to monitor because he knew he had to take the field off. Little League, it's not like we're driving around every afternoon and we
I
know this
understand.
field is
I
never
understand.
used.
There's no penalty for it. So
There's
not
no
an issue.
penalty and there's
No.
no way to actually monitor,
There's no way to
I'm
monitor.
not gonna go out to
So-
every single field every day to see if the field's
They
cleaned
don't,
out there.
they have their schedule, they don't know what teams are gonna be doing, they wanna have the field availability. If we're not penalizing them at all, why should they?
Yeah,
take
there's
those-
no-
And in Berlin Little League's defense, every single time I've gone to them and asked them for fields for Dave Swanson, they've always
they
come up
say,
with some
okay.
kind of agreement,
And
yeah,
that works,
absolutely,
that's good.
right.
Yep.
Because they know that they can give the
And so
time up.
Whoever
So
Donnie
like
had,
for
whatever,
Don's,
he should do the same thing.
Right, if they put in a request-
Reservation and-
right,
If they put in a request for a Little League field and I'm able to reach out to Little League and see if it's available, absolutely.
And that's where on the field now
Should've
states.
but I know he didn't want to pay the price, but what I
It
also
hasn't happened
understood-
yet because field reservation forms aren't due. This is all them doing their homework because they're taking over because Swanson's in Fairfield now.
Right.
So it's John Paul just emailing me and asking questions, basically.
Gotcha, okay.
But the
So
price
I
is the price.
understood-
You can't negotiate on a fly like that.
No, you can't.
Don't call it on a
So-
Friday. and
so-
say,
But,
Go
Don,
ahead, Don.
what I understood to be the issue was that they said, but this town is charging X, which was less than what we charge. And that's why they said, wouldn't you want your $50?
That was the example, yes,
Right,
that was the
so,
example. I
but
brought
I'm
up,
saying
yes,
we have the town prices.
Yes,
We know what the towns charge, and that's how we develop our rates too. So
No,
we've
you're right.
already incorporated that. Now, whether he's throwing out a legit number, I don't know, but Jen knows. So he should definitely, Newington, just saying, charges 50. And she goes, no, they don't. Here's what they charge. I know it because that's what we got from, you know.
You know, what would probably solve the whole issue is that you just don't allow them to book everything.
We have to, I mean,
Well,
how do you?
They're second in the
When you were in
priority
Little
level.
League,
I can't tell them
But
no.
I'm just saying, but when we were in Little League, okay, we were in Little League, we didn't book every field. We did not book, at least when I was the vice president, well, right, but we had that, but I'm talking about the fields that are not, it's like McGee. We never booked.
Oh, yeah, no,
We used to have to go over to Corbin Russell
Yep.
and play. and
right,
book that
right,
one.
right.
But what I'm saying is that maybe we have to, I'm just throwing this idea out. Maybe there is a limitation where you only are allowed to go from here. You can't go from 12 AM at night and midnight to 12, you can't do 24-hour clock reservation. I mean,
Does Little League pay for anything towards maintenance of the fields?
No.
It's not just Little
Youth
League,
groups
I'm
do not
saying
pay fees.
We've asked them to.
No, and to get back to it, is Jen, in the field request form this year, it now states that if you're gonna have a game, or if you're gonna have a game or practice or whatever it is, you need to email myself by Sunday at the latest of what your needs are for the next week. Because what was happening is people were saying they're gonna have a game, rented the field for a game. We went out there, swept the water, mowed it, lined it, because we want to put our best product
Our
forward.
game, yeah,
And
Nobody
it
did.
gets canceled, and we just wasted
right,
how many hundreds of man hours
right.
every year? And so if they don't communicate to us, and this complaint will come to you guys, and I'm sure it will, if you don't email and say, hey, I've got a game on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday this week, until I get that email, your field's not being groomed in line till,
Then that's good,
Yeah,
that's
that's,
positive.
so maybe Donna, what happens is
Yeah,
since you're giving,
that's probably not a bad way.
That's a positive.
Right, there will be,
Yeah, I think
there will
that-
be pushback.
oh, there's gonna be some angry people.
Yeah.
but maybe.
Once it happens once. you know,
They'll learn,
you're gonna
hopefully.
have to hopefully adjust.
And the reason why is because the resource issue,
Right,
limited resources.
I mean, if I'm a coach and I know what my practice schedule is, then I can tell you what it is or what my game schedule ahead, and why wouldn't I want to do that?
So for like Berlin Little League,
Berlin Little League,
they would tell you on Sunday for all their games.
Yep.
for all the-
George Satalino sends it every Sunday.
Yeah.
Billy Pettit Jr. sends it every Sunday. Billy Pettit Jr. will actually break it down. If it's the Berlin Bulldogs, he's
Yeah.
using this field. If it's
Right. so you're
Berlin
not
Little League,
getting
he's using this
inundated
field.
with it.
So we have a really good open dialogue with them of what they're gonna use, and we know what their field requests. But, and they're pretty honest, like if, George or somebody's gonna cancel the game, they'll call and be like, hey, listen, we're not gonna play today. They'll shoot a text in that morning, hey, by the way, our game was canceled, our game's gonna be changed, or we don't have enough, whatever it is. And there's great lines of communication, but there's still, I think there was 8 or 10 instances last year where we spent a ton of man hours grooming, lining, and fields for them never to be used.
Yeah.
And that's a lot.
Yeah.
So,
And I do think it has a lot to do with Little League is never in a shortage of fields. Berlin Youth Lacrosse, for example, you can take her field reservation and go out every single time that it's on there, and they're gonna be out there. Because they are so short and tight on field space
Yeah.
that they never ask for extra, and they use every single minute that they can get on that field. So I think Little League says, hey, you know what? No, we know no one else is gonna be using these, so let's just book them all.
So maybe the answer to this is once you get your schedule. After you get your schedule, maybe that's when a meeting needs to be taking place with all these presidents of these leagues and talk about the issues that we've encountered and let
Right.
them know that, hey, we can't do this any longer because it's an expense to town. And we're not gonna give up fees that someone wants to pay for your non-use of the field.
I would rather do that prior to forms being due, maybe inviting the presidents of the youth organizations. Just because if we wait until forms are due March 1st, putting them at the March
Well, then
commission,
do it.
We should
all of a
do it.
sudden, I'm not getting everything entered by the time.
Do it.
school starts.
Without penalty, it's not gonna change.
Right.
There's no,
Yeah, there needs. to be
But you
some
can't
kind of
penalize.
there's no consequence.
But
It's only getting the field ready. That's it.
Right.
So you
But
say
you
we
explain
can't
the
penalize.
fact that you're doing the weekly, you better send in that game list. You don't send it in, your fields aren't gonna be lined. That's a change.
Right.
That's a big change. So that's a reason to bring them in and let them know. And
Okay.
And I don't think it needs to go to all field users. I think it needs to go to the
That's a good-
presidents of the
that's a
youth
good
group.
example.
The other
That's
sports,
exactly
like
right.
lacrosse, soccer, whatever it is, we paint them on a weekly basis on every Thursday or Friday. It's,
So just baseball and
It
soccer.
lasts,
it lasts 1 week, and that's just the way we've always done it.
I think I gotta do all.
But like, there was no reason for us to paint
Right.
Sage, Soccer West all year long.
So like, that's one that we're gonna follow up with them
When you
anyway.
say soccer, you
So-
mean the high school west? Okay.
Yeah, so can I say something? It's my understanding that people had used that field to practice on and maybe played a game because when Dennehy was underwater, they went over there. Now, whether they moved, I can't speak that. I was told that, but I'm just saying.
Right, but then he was not underwater until the latter part of
Right.
October. So which would have put us November 1st, which still gave us the whole entire month of August, September, October.
So what I can say is, we use it as a backup field because in the fall, all right, we've told you that we want to save that field because in the spring, that's our main field for U10 and travel and stuff like that. But we use it as a backup field.
But if we know it's a backup field and we have an email saying, hey, by the way, this is gonna be backup, we can put a plethora of
John should tell you.
resources into that field
Yeah.
of overseeding it at 7 pounds per thousand.
Yeah,
Throw 6 or 7,000 pounds of 6 or 7 pounds of nitrogen at it.
So you have a 10% cancellation fee, right? For rentals. I'm just throwing this out. Is there a cancellation fee for the town, these leagues that don't?
No.
No, but
Because they-
should there be? I mean, if he's out there putting $100 worth of materials down, right, on 3 fields, and they don't play. That's out of his budget. Maybe that's your penalty.
Yeah.
Because they have enough money.
I
It's not like they don't have enough money.
would.
It might be something
I'm
that,
just saying.
I don't know.
But I can't just implement.
No, I'm just, we're having a conversation about,
Right.
we're having a
It's
conversation.
something-
One change at a time.
Yeah.
And then, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm
It's
just saying.
something to consider and to throw out to these guys,
Yeah.
like we've thrown out.
It's also, I mean, a couple years ago, I did research throughout the state of towns that charge their youth groups a number per kid.
Yeah.
I brought that to the commission.
Yeah.
It was a less than 5-minute conversation. I was told that they would, scream and put up a fight. So no, we weren't gonna do that. Maybe it's time to revisit an idea like that, because then they're putting money into our pocket to help with the field.
If you remember, we did talk about that
I know.
at one of these meetings. We talked about his expense. And what we said to them was, listen, at some point, we may need to come back and ask for your assistance because you collect $110 per child. Where does that money go?
So maybe instead of a cancellation fee, maybe something like that, whereas they're all putting into it.
I'm just,
I have not had that
maintenance fee.
conversation with the new president of the Little League, but I did have a conversation with Bill Pettit when we were thinking about like a
I
community center or
remember that. I
whatever.
remember that.
You know, it's a very positive thing for them to contribute
Correct.
to the fields or to something for Parks and Rec, because Parks and Rec does so much for them.
Exactly.
Okay, that's pretty much where it stopped, right? Because
Yeah, it's just,
none of them are gonna wanna do anything.
Yeah, no.
And
no.
it's gonna, but there's no harm in bringing that up when we have a meeting.
It's a conversation. It's a conversation because at the end of the day, if you're putting all that speedy drive down, you have to pay for it. Someone's paying for it. And it's us. What's that?
But, and it's not here for a
I'm
knee-jerk
sorry, I don't
reaction.
mean to bring you off track.
But it's not here for a knee-jerk reaction. It's just here for us to really explain to you guys the battles we face
Right.
all season long.
Over the course of the season, how much do you think, just a really rough ballpark, over the course of a baseball season or a lacrosse season, how often do you think it happens where they reserve the field and lose that?
Don't they reserve Gary somewhere?
They do,
But no one.
just a rough guess.
I would say on average, it's probably 3 times a week.
But
That's
that's
a lot.
not all the youth groups.
But I mean, so to me, 3 times a week, you're maintaining something that doesn't get used. That's a lot.
But it's, right, and it's the level of maintenance. So if we can go in and we, like, if you drive by any of the fields right now because of how warm it's been, I mean, you can start at Dennehy, you can go out to Sage, you can drive by McGee, and you're gonna see the weeds, and it, you know, I mean, it doesn't look pretty because it's not dying because it's so warm. But if we know that they're not using, we'll say Garrity or Puccini for a couple of days, and we can close down Dennehy and go in there and do a deep time aeration, or even cultivate the infield and get all the weeds out of there and keep that field shut down for 2 days because there's an open field at Garrity. Like Greg said, is they're trying to save a field. Like, that's the teamwork we're talking about. Like, if we can relocate you for 2 days to do somewhat of a repair to a field, that's beneficial. That's working together. And right now in the structure we have is they're requesting every field, so we don't have the ability to move anybody anywhere.
So are we in agreement that we should bring them in for our February meeting?
I think so.
Because these-
Yeah, I think just the youth group presidents. I don't
Just
think
the
it's
presidents.
necessary to
Yeah,
bring, and I think just the spring sports one. I don't think there's any reason to bring John Paul and Max in from Berlin Youth Football at this point.
Yeah, no,
Just the spring
Spring,
sports
right?
youth
I agree.
presidents.
And we-
Right. We could almost do this on, rotate through the season if you want, if it's.
Yeah, if we still have a problem in the spring after sitting and meeting with them, then in the fall, we revisit and say, guys, we met you with you in the spring. This is what we told you. You did the same thing.
can we have something just written down, just a couple of bullets? This is the issue. We got fields being, the resources being thrown at the fields for games and not being used at the, for. when
We have a
they were-
perfect example. Somebody came to one of the council members or the committee members and asked if they could use a field because they knew it was not being used. And when Jen goes back on the record, it shows that the field is booked.
Right.
Like, there's a prime
Yeah.
example.
For the
There's some-
record, they told Dunn it wasn't being used, but according to our schedule, it was.
So there's two. We have Soccer West and we have the group that approached Don. Like, there's two.
And you can also address with Little League,
The soccer.
every single time I ask you for dates
This
for
request
Swanson,
was for
you give them to us.
season?
So clearly,
You know,
if it's not a problem,
For the
Yes,
whole season?
yes.
Oh, I thought it was a one-time.
No, use that particular field.
Oh,
So make up your list of the issues that you're having. Let's try and implement this other process of them, telling us what field they're using,
Mhm.
so you can get ready and. let's-
what I'll do is I'm still gonna send this field user email out tomorrow, but then I'll send a separate email to the youth group presidents.
And that,
And
yeah.
let's give them.
I'd like them to come in, and this is, we're gonna be discussing fields not being used that have been reserved.
I mean,
And
I'm
we
just,
need, obviously, you have the knowledge, so we need you to bring it out, and if you need us to bring it out, then put down the examples and let's throw it out, because it's, we just
Steve and
gotta
I
try
have plenty
turkey
to-
this guy. So
Bring it out.
So the other thing is to think about is that, some team may have a field. And if somebody's, the coach is sick and they
Oh, yeah.
can't be there, they're gonna cancel the practice. So I mean, like Steve said, our fields, the soccer fields, they line it once a week and everybody's playing on them. So,
But there's a great example right there is if the coach is sick and we bring all the presidents together and we have a harmonious relationship, you can reach out to Pam and say, hey, Pam, our field just became available because the coach is sick and you're gonna know that by 1 o'clock. And now we have Berlin Lacrosse, whose numbers are growing at an astronomical rate. Now they're getting extra practice. That actually looks like it's us working
I
together.
agree with that, Greg. If you guys implement a policy change, the coach is emailing his players or their family telling, them, I can't make practice today, that email should also include that,
right,
practice is.
that's gonna be interesting, but that's fine.
I know exactly what you mean.
at the end of the day, it should be this, right? You can't book every field and not use it. That's it, period. If you're gonna book the field,
Right.
someone better be on it
Yes,
because
right.
we're using, we're
Yes.
expensing it here
Yeah.
for you. And there's other people that may want to use it that's willing to pay the money.
And of course, we understand
That's
if
it.
somene's sick and you have to cancel a practice, or all of a sudden there's an after school,
That's
activity,
different.
that's different if it's a one-time
But
event.
don't book a field and never use it.
Right.
So-
And that's what we're facing.
On the other hand, I mean, Pam and lacrosse and soccer for the most part, if I'm talking about fields, we switch all the time, not all the time, but if there's a possibility to see if we can switch a field and stuff like that, and they do the same for us.
The current presidents we have right now in all of the sports are fantastic, and Pam is probably the best of them all. And George Sandalino has done a
John
great
Paul's
job,
pretty good too.
and John Paul. and they've done a great job of, but now it's just all of us getting on the same page, where we all have the same common ground to have our fields booked and used, not booked and not used.
Right,
And I think at that meeting, unless other people think differently, I think we should ask them to help with offsetting some of our expenses. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking that question and then start that dialogue, because we started it 3 years ago, I think it was, and we never did anything.
So Berlin Little League, on the expense side of it, Berlin Little League purchased all of their line to line, all their fields now. They purchase all their drying
Great.
agent on
That's
themselves.
great.
Berlin, lacrosse purchases.
Okay,
their
then you're
lacrosse-
getting help. I
So
didn't.
they buy everything for themselves.
Okay.
has that just happened in the last couple of years with the new?
Berlin Little League, yes.
Okay.
Berlin Little League, George Stanley, that group has been more than.
Good.
Then fine.
That's
Then
good.
you don't need to ask. I
You're
didn't know
good.
that. I didn't know that.
Nope. Lacrosse buys all their own
Is
goals.
that they're doing that on top of what you're doing?
Yep.
So like, do you guys got a field ready? Then they know they're having games on a Sunday. They do work days there.
Yep, they'll go out, they'll go out there and groom it, line it, prep the field and everything themselves with all of everything they bought themselves. And if they think, they'll email us, hey, do we need to buy this? We're like, yes, that is on you. And they go out and buy it themselves, no
Right.
questions
And as
asked.
long as they don't do it during union time.
As long as they don't do it between union hours, we're good.
Good.
'Cause that's-
So then you don't need to ask that question. So all we really need to worry about now is trying to figure out how the utilization is being utilized. And maybe you need to come up with a percentage and say, we expect the utilization to be X% throughout the year, and we're gonna monitor it. And if not, the following year, we're not gonna give you those fields unless your percentage equals X.
But we can't monitor
How
it.
do you monitor?
I don't
right?
know.
I know, it's-
We know it.
Believe me, I would love to have tally marks every day. It's not
I know, I
used,
know.
but we
We
can't
want them
monitor.
utilized.
Yes.
100%.
Oh, there you go.
And we have other people that want to use the fields.
Right.
We can't give them those fields because you guys have them reserved.
And it's the
If you're
phone
not
calls.
gonna use them, don't reserve them.
Yes.
And let me give you an example, Soccer West, and then throw out this one, and Little League, you guys didn't.
Yeah, I mean, we've
Yeah,
gotten
someone
phone calls.
wanted to
I
use
went to the field. You told me somebody was gonna be on it, so you couldn't give it to me, but I went there and nobody was on it. Like,
Right.
so now I look like I'm picking and choosing who gets to use the
And it's
fields,
okay.
but
You gotta bring
somebody
that up.
reserved it. I can't do anything about that.
And then,
All right.
okay, and then so to help prevent that, Steve's implemented a new policy, it's on the form, where they have to notify you Sunday before. And the other thing, quite frankly, we'll be thinking about is if there's an unused field that you've reserved, at some point, we may ask for some type of cancellation fee.
Sure.
That's something that we're considering, but,
Where is the rest of
We throw
that?
that
It's right outside. It's like 80 degrees in there.
okay.
All right, so the only other thing
Right.
talking about fields. You got the wrong one.
Sorry. And we thought it was gonna be shorter than Deb's, you're full of crap.
I know.
That's what I
I definitely lost that one.
Once you said that, you're dead.
You know what, I'll buy you
So
something. I'll buy
the
you
only
something.
other thing I want to bring up about fields is, I got an email from Tony from CFC.
Yeah.
The beginning of the email was first apologetic about all the miscommunication last year, and he said he's looking to book his 2 camps this year. And he wants to just go through me, take out the middleman. He didn't say the name, but obviously we all know who it is. And he wants to just deal with me and do things the correct way. So he did put in a request for a summer, April break camp and a camp in June or July. The April camp did coincide. He was willing to do it on Sage Auxiliary, but Berlin Youth Soccer does do a camp on Scalise the same week. I reached out to John Riley, asking him his thoughts. He thinks it is a direct conflict of interest. He thinks that the CFC camp may pull kids away from his camp. I think it's important that we support our youth groups. I have not gotten back to Tony at CFC. I told him I had to bring it to the commission, but after talking to John Riley from Berlin Youth Soccer, my personal opinion is to decline the reservation request for the April camp. John has no problem with the July camp for CFC, but
Different
that's
day
just
than
what
ours,
I would
right?
like to do.
And it's different day than ours, right?
The April one is not.
No.
That's why John is fine with the July
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
Both camps in April would have been the same week.
Correct, same hours.
So I totally agree with your position.
Okay. I don't need a vote or anything. I just wanted to make sure that if Tony wasn't happy, I got support.
What was that?
That's general consensus, right?
It's not me, Tony.
Okay. Thank you, Jen. We agree.
That's it.
Yep. Okay,
We done?
discussion of fields, playground tours.
I've left that on because you asked me to put it on a couple
Yeah.
months ago.
And, you know, just thinking forward, right?
Did you talk about Scobah?
We didn't get there yet.
Oh,
That's coming up.
oh, sorry.
That's okay.
So I'm just throwing this out, for a playground, I'd like to see Little Peoples, just as a group, I don't know if there's another one that you think would be, you know, or, I mean, Friendship Place, by the way, when she was here, I was thinking if there's a way we could get Friendship Place access to it, there's no park.
Right.
Well, it's just totally packed during the day, so there's no way, even if we could get access, there's no parking for them, so that's not gonna work, so.
Yeah, we can do Little People's.
I would like to see Little Peoples and, all right, so at some point in the future,
Just Little People's.
any other thoughts for, you know, again, just bring them out if there's a place that we should be meeting at. Before we get to the grand update, I did go to the council meeting. I know Jen was online, these guys couldn't make it, but you were online, right? I don't know if anybody else was. I mean, they accepted it, they understand, give them a bullet, the package. I don't know, I know Jen told you you could find it in the council minutes. The one recommendation that I thought was a good one, that if we get to the point where we're really thinking about closing Hubbard, that we actually have a commission meeting at Hubbard School, because I talked about how do we engage that section of the town? And one of the council members actually recommended, I thought that was a good one. So if we ever get to that point, we should definitely have a meeting at Hubbard rather than here. I know logistics might be an issue.
Can I ask a question though?
Yeah.
So based off of what we heard today from the and if in fact we don't get enough cards, it makes that decision relatively easy, right? To not open that pool
Right, because we don't have the proper staff.
if you don't have the proper staff.
Right.
So
For this
but
season.
for this season only, right? That's not closure. It would only be for,
lack of staff.
exactly.
Right.
Okay, and that shouldn't cause people in an uproar based off of some of the things we've been talking about with the facility though, right?
But I think
Agreed.
if you,
Well,
Have that
if you,
meeting.
if you
No, I
posted
agree.
it,
I'm just saying though that I'm
Yeah,
just trying
it's two
to.
separate
It's two
issues, right?
separate issues.
One
what
is
I'm
the
getting.
staff to
Right.
know what we, because we said, we're gonna operate Hubbard going forward as long as we have the staff.
Right,
Right, I heard that. And,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is that I just want to make sure that it doesn't get muddied
Misconstrued.
water.
Right,
Because people
right,
start to
right.
think,
But you-
well, you don't have enough staff, so. you know,
Well, I'm
that-
sure if people here, whoever the people that go to Hubbard, right, you know, we can't
You're
staff
right,
it,
you can't staff it.
they're gonna be upset.
Okay.
But that's what it is. Now, at the same time, we do have the maintenance issue,
Yes.
and that's what we have to start with.
Absolutely.
well, and it doesn't guarantee that the following summer, we're gonna have the staffing either.
Right.
No,
Hopefully that's, it could be corrected, but that could be an
Right.
ongoing.
It could be an ongoing thing, not only for there, for other things as well.
Right,
And I did ask the town council to share with us, or start thinking about what, you know, what's the vision for aquatics in town? You're gonna do a Y? You're gonna do the community center? Because you probably don't need 2 outdoor pools if you're gonna have an indoor pool somewhere. And, you know, that went on deaf ears. But I did, you know, I mean, that's what they have to think of. Because and I said, why we're gonna put any money into this thing? If you're thinking that you're gonna move ahead, or maybe even had discussions with the Y,
Yeah.
right? Okay. All right, that's,
so scoreboard, we met out, Donna was there, we met out a group of us to discuss location of the scoreboard. It's kind of be same location, but pushed back about 10, 15
25, 30 feet.
Yeah,
move
about
a little bit
25
to
to the
the,
right.
little bit to the right, which we think, Dave and I walked the visitor side bleachers and what it's actually gonna be, you're gonna be able to actually see it a lot better. It's not gonna be like where it's tucked in now. You have a little problem seeing it from the upper left-hand corner, I think where the Red Sea stands now. And I think it's gonna give great visualization for the visitors. So we think it's gonna be a better location and just be more visible all the way around. We were out there on Monday or probably Tuesday. We took down a cedar tree. So we've now removed 4 or 5 trees right in that general area. We've got a tree company coming in. They're gonna grind the stumps, haul everything out of there. So everything should be good to go. We'll hopefully have the area all cleaned up and ready to go for lacrosse.
And first startup of installation is starting on Friday, January 27th.
So Dave was there?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
and he agreed?
And
Homes.
Mark
Homes,
Holmes
lavender.
was there, a couple of other guys,
Yep.
you know, that were involved in
Yep.
the purchase from the
Sure.
football. And everybody was in agreement. I mean, it was, you
Yeah, it
know,
was
the-
easy.
I
It was an
didn't go,
easy
I didn't go only because I saw your note about you didn't want people there because it would have been a meeting.
Yeah, we always
I
have to be
didn't-
careful. If we have 4 people, then it
I
turns
didn't
into a
go
meeting.
because
and
I
minutes have to be
just saw
taken.
you, but I didn't hear.
yeah,
I
no,
didn't know
it
anyone
was,
else.
it's pretty.
It was fun. It was
It's gonna be
15 minutes. and
move
we were
back
done.
and more to the, you know, to the right, to the center of the field, but not the center.
And it's about 2.5 times as big.
So if you go
so-
back 25 feet,
And,
does
and
it go
up,
beyond?
it's high.
the
much
fence?
higher. It's
Yeah.
No,
25
it's still,
feet high.
it's in between the 2 fences.
It's still in
Yeah,
between.
Yeah.
You know, if you take a ride through there and you look where the, so if you
There's a
stand
tree stump
directly
right
at the
there.
numbers and look straight at the numbers towards the road
Right,
coming
yeah,
in,
right.
that's pretty much dead center. But then you'll actually see a really nasty swale that's right there, that's full of water. And what the problem was they were afraid of is if they tried to bore and pour the pylons right there with the sonotubes right there, that's just gonna keep filling with water. It would not have been a great location.
I didn't realize you had 25 feet between the.
Well, they
two
took down some
fences.
trees.
Between the two.
Yeah, I would
fences.
say it's easy. Something like that.
I think it's like 15, but.
How about like 17 and a half?
I'm gonna go measure tomorrow.
You're gonna measure?
We're
But
gonna
they
go
did,
measure tomorrow.
they took,
Field trip.
when we were there, there was
Just to
probably
see.
3 or 4 trees down. Now you've taken one or 2 down, so.
Yeah, but if you took down, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'll just drive by there, but if you took down trees, the trees are beyond the fence.
They're not before,
No, but-
are you talking the fence where the end of the field is, or are you talking the guardrail?
I'm talking about the fence where you have to go out to get a field goal.
Yeah, it's still outside there.
Oh, so it is, okay.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
not
no, it's
within,
outside.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because the current scoreboard is outside the.
Right, I was just
Yeah.
confused.
Yeah.
because- All right, got
I was,
it. I got it now.
we put it right in the middle of the road. I told you you should have come.
I didn't want to go, there was more than 4 people could go, so.
That's all I got.
No, so things,
Good.
everybody was in consensus,
Yeah.
everybody agreed, so. Yeah.
So Buscaglio? Is that, on-
Sciavia's going out to bid first or second week of February. I don't remember the date off the top of my head. Finalizing those documents.
so once they all get finalized, what's the, when's the start date?
I think we moved it up.
I think we're going out to bid like February 6th or 9th. I just can't remember what's on the paper. Out to bid for 2 weeks, then scope reviews. Looking to go to council, the second council meeting in March for permission to enter into the contract with the construction company, finalize contract with them once we have approval to enter into it, and then, sit down with them, go over the plan and have them start ordering stuff.
First, we decided on June 23rd, and I think we moved that to.
No, it's June, it's whatever the last day of school is, 10, 11, 12, June 12th. We can start mobilization.
So that's.
It was always June 12th. I don't know where you got June.
that was in the-
That's my anniversary.
Does that affect the tennis courts at all? When they're using them for the summer?
I know that the hospital for special care will not be able to do their camp there because of the construction at the school. Their lessons, I'm not sure.
I think you'd be okay. We'll have a conversation with the GC and everybody. We'll put some additional signage up there so that we know they're not flying up back and forth with the 10-wheelers.
The hospital for special care is different because they're coming in and out of school and they
Well, they're
use
in
the park,
wheelchairs.
and they use the parking lot too for stuff. But I think your lessons fee should be fine.
Okay, great. Any other?
One last
Yep,
question
go,
before you
go,
do,
yeah.
just going back to the meeting with. Are you gonna put together something and send to us?
I'm gonna put together a list of projects to add to the P O C D, including the community senior center. I will get that list of projects, most likely from the CIP plan.
So you'll send it to us and then we'll add. to it.
If there's any
Comment.
narrative you guys want to add that you guys can put on, that's fine. You can add a couple sentences. I don't think Jim needs to be here for the February meeting. Do you?
No, no, because we'll just submit it and then if he has
Okay.
questions.
That's what I think too.
But we are gonna have them, we're gonna ask the presidents to come in February. Okay,
Thank
Just
you.
the president,
Just the presidents.
they don't need to bring an entourage.
no, just. the
They might
president.
bring their vice president, but.
But
for
that's-
the most
that's
part, it's- What?
They can bring whoever they want.
So it'll be for the spring sports only, right?
Yeah, it'll just be Berlin Youth Soccer, Berlin Youth Lacrosse, Berlin Little League, Berlin Little League Softball.
I don't want softball. I don't want.
That's it, right?
What?
Lacrosse, soccer, softball, baseball. Yeah, four groups.
And the other interesting thing, I'll just put this out there. Little League doesn't have the teams that it wants to. And
We know
so,
this.
that's either a good thing or a bad thing, I kind of look at it both ways.
I actually have the numbers of all of 22 youth sports. That's something we've started this year, is collecting numbers of all the youth programs. So I can share that with you guys as well.
You're right, Joe. And when I say it's a good or bad thing, a lot of kids are playing lacrosse, which is a great thing.
You know,
Right? There's just-
different sports.
Yeah, so there are
Lacrosse is
more opportunities, but just intuitively, it then kind of says, you don't need to use all the fields as often as you say you need to use the fields.
Lacrosse did an early registration November 1st and got 140 kids in a week. November for their spring season. That's impressive.
Yeah,
I remember
They-
when my son
they had
first played.
two- they had
lacrosse, I was like,
252
"What's
last
the-"
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I was talking. I remember that's
How many-
I'll make a
Okay, we
motion
good?
to adjourn.
right. I second the motion.
all in favor?
Okay, snowstorm next February.
Bye, Tiff.
What's that?
There'll be a snowstorm next meeting.